This is the Prostate Pit Stop. One man's journey, everyone's fight. With Keith Smith and Matt McChlery. Sponsored by the Ferry Project. Visit our website, ferryproject.org.uk. Well, hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Prostate Pit Stop. One man's journey, everyone's fight. Now, I'm Matt McChlery and
I'm Keith Smith.
And we're going to be chatting together all about Keith's prostate cancer journey through the highs and the lows. So thanks for joining us. And Keith, you have an update for us because at the end of the last episode, you were waiting for news about an operation. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, well, that's actual. The last time we talked was a couple of weeks ago, and I got the news on Monday. It's now, for me, it's now Thursday, and I got the news this Monday that I've got an operation on February the 21st. It was a great relief to get it, if I'm being honest, Matt, because I actually have found that the waiting has been the hardest thing so far. It's just sheer fact of not knowing, and for me, nobody was in touch with me, so I haven't had a nurse phone me up saying we're still looking for a date or anything. So I had a 3-week wait where literally it was all quiet, and you start to wonder, have they forgotten me? What's going on? And to be frank, for me as well, they said that my prostate cancer was aggressive, and so my operation was urgent. So that instills a little bit of tension within you. You want something to happen. You want it to get on. So I must admit, I found the last 3 weeks incredibly challenging, emotionally. And I have had some emotional highs and lows during this time. And sometimes where you do just lie awake and think, well, if this operation never happens, at some time, this cancer is going to get out of the prostate and will start to attack me elsewhere. And you just, the doubts creep in, don't they? The fears and stuff come in. So actually managing that, and if I'm being honest, I suppose for me, the only reason I've been able to cope is the fact that my family's supportive, but also I am a Christian, and I've spent a lot of time praying, a lot of time talking to God and just saying, what's going on here? Why is things not happening? I'm a bit scared. What's going on? And I've been, blessed in the fact that I've been getting Bible readings and things that have been helpful to me, and feeling God just encouraging me and telling me not to worry. But it is very difficult. It's quite a discipline to focus your mind and not to allow difficult thoughts and challenging thoughts to come in. So the last few weeks have been really challenging, but now I have a date. I have a surgeon. I've got a fancy arrangement as well, because I opted to go to Norwich Hospital, and they have a robotic system of doing operations, to be more precise. And what's been made clear to me is that precision in a prostate operation is very important for the quality of your life afterwards. So the fact that they're doing this system, and the system is very, very precise because of the robotic nature of it, is also a real blessing. It's a good thing for me, and I feel encouraged by all that, and the fact that hopefully that will mean my recovery is quicker, and hopefully the impact of the operation could be minimised as best. So I'm looking more on the bright side of things now. But they've been ups and downs.
Yeah, it can be really tricky. I mean, when I was first diagnosed early on in my journey, one of the senior nurses was kind of giving me lots of information and sort of don't eat takeaways and all this kind of stuff, because I was going through chemo, which of course you aren't at this point, which is great for you. But sort of going through all of that and sort of learning all the rules of all the do's and don'ts and things. We mentioned as well that, that we were Christians, and she said, it's very interesting, because she's found that people who have a faith kind of cope a bit better with these sort of life-threatening, life-altering situations. And that doesn't mean, as you say, it doesn't mean that it's all roses and you just kind of smile and everything's jolly and la 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 la. It's certainly not. I mean, there were through all the cycles and things, I'd heard of some people who kind of just give up. They say that's enough. I can't do any more. That's it. It's finished. That I'm stopping my treatment, and then they soon very afterwards are no longer with us. But I was in the earliest days. I was kind of quite sort of upbeat and everything, and was thinking to myself, you know, that's really odd. Why do people do that? It's very strange. About halfway through, three-quarters of the way through all my chemo and things, I entered a really bad time, emotionally, mentally, and then I was like, I get it. I understand why people just say no.
Yeah.
This is enough now. I can't take any more of this. I just wanted to stop because I can't carry on. So I get it. I mean, I did manage to push through that, and carry on, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, I get it. It can get dark and bleak at times.
Absolutely, yeah. And I found the fact that my family are supportive, and indeed my colleagues at work, they've been very good. So it's really strange. It's very strange to be asymptomatic. So in some respects, physically, I feel no different. The impact's all been emotional. It's all been what's going on inside my head and how I feel and stuff. But my colleagues at work have all, stepped up. I've handed over quite a lot of my responsibilities to the person taking over my role, Sandra, and I'm very grateful for that. And there's been other staff who've done bits and pieces. I've worked from home quite a bit. So that all that combined together all gives you a support network which can help with all this. The fact that people are rooting for you and that people care, and that people sympathise with the journey. So that and the fact that I know that God's in the same situation is all good.
So let's look at that a little bit through the perspective of homelessness, because of course Ferry Project, who you work for and of course host the podcast and everything else, is a homelessness project, and of course homelessness support networks are often not there anymore because of the situation that someone finds himself in for whatever reason. So how do you think that kind of possible lack of support network might impact someone, for example, someone experiencing homelessness, but then also has to deal with cancer, and what does the Ferry Project do to try and help those it serves?
Right. Well, you're absolutely right, Matt. So this sounds brutal, and indeed people have challenged me at times about saying this. But the reality is that for somebody to end up homeless, that means that everybody they know, family and friends, have said, you can't live with us. Okay. So the harsh reality for that individual is that they've been rejected by everybody. Now, it might have been a long journey and there might be very good reasons for it all and everything else, but the reality is they have been told that they can't stay there. And so for that individual, their support network is definitely minimized. There might be restrictions on how much support they'd be prepared to give. And let's face it, it might be they've burned the bridges themselves and they've done all sorts of things that have caused people to say, I'm sorry, you just can't be with us. So I think contrasting the two things, a homeless person comes, in a sense, without that support network. And one of the most important things that Ferry does is to provide that support network. So we talk about in our strapline giving love and support, and that's a key part, that they actually know that people do care and people are there to help, and they're not all alone, and so on. And that does make a significant difference. Now, over the last couple of years, one of the things that's been amazing to see is that Ferry's been working a lot more closely with the local NHS. and our local GP surgeries and indeed local hospitals. And as a result of that, our clients now are being supported incredibly in their health system. So they get access to a nurse practitioner and who can talk with them and help with any problems like that. We've got a specialist mental health nurse and they can talk with her and she supports them through mental health problems. And if they haven't got the medication they need, can help get the access to that. And over the last 18 months, we've joined in a pilot project where they've been looking at early diagnosis of liver disease. And the pilot project has been wonderful because it's funded a member of staff to do exactly what we're talking about. The member of staff has been able to come alongside people in challenging circumstances and just be the family to them. So go to appointments, help them to go to tests and be tested when they get the news, to be there with them and talking with them and so on. And absolutely, we recognise that support network is absolutely key. And it is, for me, interesting both to know it intellectually in the sense of I knew that we needed to do this for the ferry and get that all in place, but to experience it myself in a totally different scenario. I can see the value of it because you would crumble without it. It would be the journey would just be so much harder without the support of people around you.
And let's come back to your operation then. So you got the date set, which is wonderful. So what are you having to do to get ready or prepared? Do you have to go on like a sort of a crash diet, or what are the requirements that you need to meet in order to have your operation?
All right. Well, good question, Matt. So for those who don't know me, I'm a big chap. I'm 6'4", and I weigh 18 stone. I'm a big bloke. I'm glad to say that the doctor said he thought that, considering my age and size and stuff, I was in good condition. And he's recommended I didn't need to lose any weight for the operation. But what he did say was, if I could be losing a bit of weight just before the operation, he said it comes off your tummy first, so it just means there's a bit less work to do to get through the waistband. Let's say that. Okay. So that's fine. I'm just trying to eat sensibly. As I say, so we're 2 weeks away. So I will start to reduce the amount of food I'm eating. I do a lot of exercise anyway. Alongside that, the one that's really interesting for being a man is the fact that I've had to learn where my pelvic floor muscles are. Because as part of this process, unfortunately, there is a strong, one of the side effects is incontinence. So for some individuals, they become incontinent after the operation. Unless you train your pelvic floor muscles, then it's a real possibility that you could have difficulties with that. So I've been spending the last 3 weeks doing exercises where I'd never expected to have to exercise my part of my body in my life. So that's been very funny. And they tell you have to do it all different times in doing different situations and so on. So I've been walking down the street, holding my pelvic floor muscles, hoping that people don't see that I'm type of concentrating and pulling a face as I try to control these muscles I've never done before. It's been interesting. Nobody stopped me and gone, "Are you okay?" or anything like that yet. But I just wonder what they think as I'm doing it. So that's quite an experience, and they have a 7 level scale of pelvic floor exercises. And at the moment I'm at level 4, and in the next 2 weeks I've got to try and get up to level 7. And it's all about the force you can hold the pelvic floor muscles with and how long you hold them for. So I'm working my way up, doing my weight training, just doing a different set of muscles than I'm used to.
Very good. Is there anything else you're doing? Because I think you mentioned to me, not on the podcast, but sort of in person, that you were looking to kind of reduce contact with a few people in the lead up to the operation, all that kind of thing.
Well, absolutely. So the hospital made it clear that if I have a cold or anything like that, they can't do the operation. So they had them told me I can't get in touch with people, but it just is sensible. So for the 10 days or so before the operation, my wife and I will just go away for a little while and spend some time, just the two of us together, not far from our home, but far enough away that we won't have visitors and so on without being mean to people. So just to make sure that a hand-on infection, I can't tell you how difficult it would be to end up at the hospital with a cold and be turned away. So I'd much rather just make sure it's okay. So yeah, it's just sensible. It really is. And they, the NHS have put on an extra session. So I'm actually having my operation on a Saturday to fit me in because they're so busy. So, all the time and effort and people doing all that, I really wouldn't want to then waste that by turning up with, a cold and them saying, well, I'm sorry, you can't have it today. So it all seems very sensible. So yeah, we'll isolate in a sense for the 10 days or so before the operation.
Great. Well, it's been very fascinating catching up with you. We'll be back soon chatting with you again. We'll see if we can do a chat before the operation. That may or may not be possible. So we might be seeing you on the other side of the operation. We'll see what's possible in the coming weeks ahead. But thank you for that. And also thank you as well for listening to the Prostate Pit Stop podcast. And we really do appreciate you joining us on this journey. And we look forward to having the pleasure of your company again really soon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Prostate Pit Stop, sponsored by the Ferry Project. Make sure you subscribe and share.